Your brand creates moments of impact with the people you clearly see impacting. You can name those moments when, up until the moment of impact, things are the way they are, and then they're never the same after that. You say to them, here's what I see for you. The words that follow that paint a picture, and those words and that picture, when they are baked with clarity, are a magnet. Brand is so clearly defined in language that everything it says aligns with the impacts it clearly sees making. You know what happens? Clarity. And people feel it. It's palpable. Living and fulfilling your divine purpose is why you were created. Now is the time to evolve the brand you must become to live your purpose.
This is the Clark Connection Podcast, where 12 years of coaching championships meets real-world leadership. Coach Clark broke through at the highest levels. Now he's bringing you the playbook. Every week, real leaders, real wins. Real strategies you can use Monday morning. If you're done with theory and ready for results, this is your show. You in? Let's go!
And welcome back to the Clark Connection Podcast, where we have real conversations about leadership, growth, business, and becoming the person you were created to be. I'm your host, Aaron Clark, aka The Coach. And today's episode is for the leader, entrepreneur, creator, or visionary who knows they're capable of more, but feels stuck trying to communicate their value, define their message, or fully step into their purpose. Because the truth is, a lot of people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack clarity. And today's guest believes clarity is the missing piece behind the struggle of most brands, businesses, and even personal identities. We're talking about impact, purpose, personal branding, leadership, AI, communication, and the power of finding language that actually represents who you are and what you bring to the world. Now, before I jump in, I want to take a brief moment and shout out our sponsors. The Clark Connection Podcast is powered by Coach Clark Leadership and Development. At Coach Clark Leadership and Development, we help businesses, churches, schools, and organizations develop strong leaders through leadership training, executive coaching, team building, and keynote speaking. Our mission is simple: help leaders grow so their people, teams, and organizations can too. To learn more about our services, visit CoachAClark.com. Quick question. If someone asked ChatGPT, Gemini, or Perplexity for the best company in your industry, would your business even be mentioned? More and more, customers aren't searching the way they used to. They're asking AI for recommendations. And if your business isn't showing up there, you're missing opportunities before people ever visit your website. That's where TrueScaler comes in. They specialized in generative engine optimization, or GEO, helping businesses become more visible across today's AI platforms like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and more. If you're ready to prepare your business for the future of search, visit TrueScaler.com and learn how GEO can help your business get found where customers are searching next. This episode of the Clark Connection Podcast is proudly brought to you by Hubbard Flooring Studio. Leadership, growth, and success all start with a strong foundation. And that's exactly what you'll find at Hubbard Flooring Studio. Vicki and her team help homeowners and businesses create spaces that combine quality, craftsmanship, and style. Whether you're updating a single room, remodeling your entire home, or finishing a new construction project, Hubbard Flooring Studio offers flooring solutions and custom blinds designed to bring both beauty and functionality to your space. If you're ready to work with a team that takes pride in getting the details right, visit hubbardflooringstudio.com or call 225-924-1582. Shout out to Steadfast Electric for supporting the show. With hurricane season here, Now is the time to think about protecting your home and family. BJ and his team specialize in whole home generators that keep your lights on, your food cold, and your household running when the power goes out. Learn more at steadfastelectric.com or call 225-364-9218. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Bob Smith, chiropractic internist, for sponsoring today's episode. Dr. Bob focuses on identifying the root cause of pain and dysfunction, not just covering up symptoms. If your body isn't performing the way it should, this is the kind of care that looks deeper. Learn more at brspine.com or call 225-291-2626. Dr. Bob Smith, finding the root cause, not just chasing symptoms. A big thanks to Automate Integrate Professional Services for backing the show. Andrew helps businesses simplify, automate, and integrate their systems, so leaders stop wasting time on manual work and start focusing on growth. Visit automate-integrate.com or email Andrew at automate-integrate.com. Automate Integrate, systems that work so you don't have to overwork. Thanks again for supporting leadership development. We couldn't do what we do here at the Clark Connection podcast without your support. Now, today's guest is Rich Kozak, founder, owner, and CEO of Rich Brands. Rich has spent decades helping people evolve their brands, clarify their message, and align their business with purpose and impact. In this episode, he even breaks down his 7-step process for building a powerful brand, explains why language matters more than most people realize, and shares how speaking from the heart, not just the head, changes the way people connect with you. This conversation is practical, thoughtful, and honestly challenging in the best possible way. So, whether you're building a business, leading a team, launching a brand, or simply trying to figure out what your next level looks like, this episode is going to make you think differently. So grab a pen, grab something to write on, and let's get into it. And Rich, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Aaron, great to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad. I know you've been running 1,000,000 miles an hour. I've been running 1,000,000 miles an hour. So I'm glad we were able to connect and get things going. And so kind of my first question for you is, all right, you said CEO, founder of Rich Brands. What is Rich Brands?
Well, thanks for asking. These days at Rich Brands, we're evolving individuals' brands with the deep clarity that's missing so that they can achieve their highest impacts. That sounds like tricky talk. If you interpret highest impacts as why they were created, you're right on track. So why do they need to evolve the brand? What are you talking about? They already have a brand. Well, they don't understand, most people, and actually really 90-some% don't realize a brand is not what they think. It's not what they say. It's what others perceive. And the only people we really care about are the ones we really want to impact. We want to make sure they hear us, they bring us in, that we can make our impacts on their lives, their businesses, their relationships, their industry, their country. Okay. So at Rich Brands, after 50 years, 50, is not a typo, and there's not something wrong with the microphone.
I was about to say,
50,
is there something wrong with the teleprompter or what?
Exactly. It's 50 of defining and languaging brands. I am telling you, clarity is missing, and most brands fall flat. Big ones, solo players. And for the last 10 years, I've only worked with individuals. So when you know there's more, and you want to go higher or bigger or wider or new target audiences or new kinds of impacts or more consistent with why you were created, unless you evolve that perception in the minds of those whom you most want to impact, they might not see you for what you're capable of. They might not let you in. They might bounce off. And when they bounce off, you lose, they lose, and the world loses. So every day I speak it. You and I just spoke at LA Leadership Week. By the way, congratulations. You live in LA, but it's the other LA. I'm in the other. Yeah. Anyway, we both live in LA, but different LAs. But you spoke at Los Angeles, LA
Yes.
Tribune Leadership Week. Way to go. I was really proud that you did that.
Thank you.
I'm really glad that your voice was on that, a part of Mo Rock's, one of Mo Rock's phenomenal, literally life-shifting events. The quality of the speakers was amazing. Still is, goes through Sunday. So sometimes, I'm being facetious, we wait. Sometimes we wait. If you wait another year, the world doesn't get the benefit of you stepping into your purpose. And God might have intended certain things to happen and you waited. So what is Rich Brands? Well, it's a place where we teach, guide, mentor. Like I speak all the time, but I coach, I one-on-one, I group, we mastermind. There's a community. People's brands are evolved with the 7-step process, and it's only 7 steps. People don't think branding is a process. It's a process. 50 years, take my word for it. Processes get things done. If you don't do all the steps and leave some steps out, it's not going to turn out well for you. It's like building a house and you leave out some steps. It's like,
I was just thinking that. Don't put that wall up in that house. See what happens.
Hey, the bearing wall. Yeah. 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 And I teach.
Don't.
I teach and guide people and literally work alongside them, with them, but people work with each other. It's remarkable. And they evolve the brand they must become to live their purpose, their highest level impacts. They're what we call the umbrella brand. So many people have a business. It's a business. You have a business. I have a business. Where we make our money. It's our the way we feed our families. But that might not be your highest level impact. Your highest level impact that you were made might be a much higher level, more important sharing that you get to do. Maybe you get to model. Maybe you get to speak about your faith. Maybe you get to, to tell your story in a way that touches others' lives so that they don't hold themselves back. I mean, everybody's different. And so you get to get on with it. Imagine if there were steps that made sure that everything, by the time when you define in language a brand so clearly, that everything you say and do after that aligns with the impacts you clearly see making when you're thriving. I'm going to repeat that. I don't exaggerate. I do not exaggerate. I call people on that. But the process ensures that everything you say and do aligns, your brand and you say and do aligns with the impacts you clearly see making when your brand is thriving and everything is working. You're going to get there faster. You're going to get to the abundance that it brings faster. And you're going to more easily create a platform where you can step into why you're really here. Praise God. Does that help? What's going on at Rich Brands? He's a branding guy. It's like, he's a financial advisor. Stop. No. So it's kind of like a life coach for brands, but I used to believe the skill was mine. It's not a skill. It's a gift. And I am so blessed to have it. And people, I was just reading some things I just received in the last couple of weeks, and one person after a session literally sent me something and said, you know what, you do what this Rich Brand's work that we do does what AI cannot. It literally gives a connects with our heart and literally help understand, what I'm capable of. It's like, wow. To be able to help people see what they don't see, to reach into their heart by asking them, hey, when everything's thriving, what impacts you clearly see making? Let's write those on have your heart give you a type of person or a type of couple or a type of business, that you clearly see impacting. Yeah, let's define. Okay, so we describe that. Now, what's the first impact when you're thriving? What's the first impact? Oh, they reframe how they see something. Okay, what's next? Well, they learn a new skill set. Okay, what's next? Well, they get new results. When we literally define and language the impacts, that sounds rigorous, but look, it is what it is. You can see it, you can write it down. And when you write it down, you literally can bake it into the brand you must become, define the characteristics you must get credit for to make those impacts faster, the categories of expertise you must be known for to make those impacts faster. Everything is, impact driven. And where did it start? In your heart. Now you're on the track toward why you're here. Pretty cool.
So whenever you say it's about finding your purpose, they have clarity in your brand to evolve to why you're created. Like, how do you go through and help somebody figure out what their purpose is?
Well, okay. It's not like we have purpose class. Okay. Or there's a book on purpose. I mean, there's been a lot of books, right? And we could name them, but I'm not going to do that. And I would kind of be like, all right. So I'm not going to do that because the book, the world, let's take branding. The world does not need another book about branding. Well, Microsoft and, advertising, and Apple, is that going to do a solopreneur any good? Let me think. No. So what if there were a book that said, look, these are the steps, just use them. And here's a little form. When you're doing step one, here's a little fill in the blanks outline for step one. You just do your work right there. What if there were that book? Well, there is.
I was about to say,
I'm writing it.
The needles, man.
Look, so and it's called, don't be so surprised, Impact-Driven Branding, 7 steps to ensure your brand impacts people's lives in the world. So your question was, and I didn't forget it, I'm not just going off, your question was, how do you help people find their purpose? Well, they find it. I don't like say, hey, here's what happens. We ask them to envision what it looks like when they're thriving at what they really want to do. Now they already might be doing it, but they're taking it to another level. What things you really want to do, what kind of people you want to, and what impacts do you clearly see yourself making when everything is working? You write you haven't written a book yet, but you're going to write a book. And when you write a book and people say, oh my God, it changed my life. You create a weekend retreat and people attend and you're thriving and the business is thriving and the brand is thriving. What are you doing when the brand is thriving? Write down what you're doing. Well, I have my own podcast. Oh, I see a series of books. You know what? I think my voice is really important. You know what? I love to teach one-on-one. You know what? I love to work with children. You know what? I'm ready to be on boards. Whatever. Everybody's different. Okay. So they envision what it looks like when they're thriving at doing what they really clearly see doing to impact others, individuals or businesses or and the beautiful thing is they capture that because that's part of the process. In doing that, they started from their heart and they asked their heart, give me one. And then once we do one, they say, heart, give me another one. And heart, give me another one. So let's say they do 2 or 3 or 4. We don't need 100. They might touch 100 different kinds of people or businesses, but we don't need 100. We need the ones their heart gives them, that they clearly see impacting and really want to impact.
If you're getting value from today's episode, Take a second to like, follow, and subscribe to the Clark Connection podcast so you'll never miss a future conversation on leadership, growth, and success. Let's dive back into today's topic. Now, and that was one I was going to ask. So you keep saying the people that you impact, the impact you're going to make. It's the impact you envision? So why is that important?
Can we define impact?
Yeah. Why is the impact so
define the word? Okay, watch this. Here, watch my hands.
Yes.
This is a car and this is a wall. Wall's fine. Car's fine. Uh-oh. Boom. This hurts. This hurt. The wall is different. The car is different. There is a moment of impact. Your brand creates moments of impact with the people you clearly see impacting. Let's walk through a quick series of impacts. If you're a coach that helps people sharpen their leadership skills, okay? First impact, they reframe how they understand what leadership is. They gratefully acknowledge what they didn't see and now do. You know, you can name those moments when up until the moment of impact, things are the way they are. And then they're never the same after that. Tearfully drops to his knees, realizing the pain is gone. Prayerfully thanks God for releasing them from this self-doubt that they've lived with for years. Yeah, it's like everybody's different. And the way the impacts are stated come right from the person who clearly sees making them. I just worked with a woman whose target audience individual that she was working on had been in a very negative, probably physically and verbally abusive relationship and got out of it, but still has wounds that affect how she sees herself. And the one by one, iterative, like step by step impacts that she explained were marvelous and real. Now, I worked with her to make sure that they didn't have 100 words when they could have 10, because clear is important. But that's just, my mother was an English teacher, so let's, it's like, get around. So it's like, do I work with everybody? Well, at this point I do. In the future I can't, but that's why I'm writing the book, because if I hand this, hey, it's steps, just use them. They can hop on to trainings, but someday I'll be on the Great Discovery and they can get on there and buy a evergreen training. I'll have a school, we're about to create a school community. I already have a community of people who jump on and tell others, hey, this is a real deal. Like, pay attention. Okay. Pay attention. Yeah. This is what happened to me. Like, oh my God, you know what? Step 2 blew my mind. Talk about the steps like friends, look. So in the process of defining and languaging the brand they must become to make the impacts they wrote down in step 2, we come up with all that. We learn a lot about the person. They learn a lot about themselves when we're talking about, well, what expertises do you have? And they put them all out. We put like 25 different things that they do really well, and we group them. We're like, okay, well, which one of these categories of expertise must you get credit for first to move quickly toward your impacts? Well, and here's what happens. We prioritize which categories of expertise first, and then we craft how we say their expertise so that no one else says it that way, and they get credit unique credit that's defensible for what makes them outstanding. You want to hear a few? Okay. A woman who runs a bookkeeping business all over the country. She has 15 people that work for her, and they specialize in industry. This is where we test it. We say, the woman speaking at the Rapid Growth Business Conference next year is an expert at. I forget the word. Hold on. I need the word. I'm a visual memory. Okay. Is an expert at clarifying the tech and accounting decisions needed for your business to reach millions. It's bookkeeper. Tech and accounting people, they don't even talk to each other. Oh, no, that's what she does. Really? Oh my God. Well, I want to reach million. Suppose you do. Why? So is that a category? It sure is. It's our category.
I was about to say it is now.
Okay. So here's another one. Guy comes and says, wait, I've been studying all these non-Western medical modalities. And we got mushrooms and brain training, and it just sounds like a hodgepodge. Today, he is the founder of the legacy brand, Mindful Longevity, Renew, Rejuvenate, Revitalize, holistic health mentoring that empowers lives. Oh my God. When is he on? I want that. What is that? It's like, okay, right. The woman speaking at the New Body Conference next week is an expert at body intelligent yoga. God, I've done yoga for 10 years in my multi-million-dollar house, and and I've never heard. I want that.
Body intelligence.
What's in there? Okay, so words have power, Aaron.
Right.
And this is not trickery. This is starting in someone's heart with the vision they clearly see of impacts they really want to make on people that their heart hands them. And when the dust settles, they have unique language that transfers energy, gets them credit for exactly what makes them outstanding in a unique way that nobody else says. And then in order to get credit for those categories of expertise, we have already crafted 10 to 15 titles and subtitles of content. When you read the content, you give the brand credit for what's at the top of the column. Body intelligence, expert at body intelligence, expert at mindful longevity, experiencing a younger brain as you age. Who does that work? Nobody I know.
No, that's
except for this. Okay, so when people say this, you plugged into, like, I had a vision of what my brain would be, but I didn't know how to say. I just need some clarity to see where this goes. How do I get credit for? We're not getting credit for what makes us outstanding. What kind of content was going to attract my target? These are really common questions. They're common questions. When I do my one-day workshop, literally the workshop book that I ship to people says, here's 25 common questions. It's like, or comments. We need better ways to say what we do. That's like number one. We're not getting credit for what really makes us outstanding. We don't know how to position ourselves to charge what we're worth. You understand how common those are? That's really common. And they all go away when a brand is so clearly defined in language that everything it says aligns with the impacts it clearly sees making, even on 4 or 5 different target audiences. There are different impacts, different people, different ages, different backgrounds, different problems. When you put that down and you bake it into the brand, when the brand opens its mouth, you know what happens? Clarity. And people feel it. It's palpable. Here's one of those missing pieces of clarity. Remember, I said clarity is a missing piece. I'm going to give you a real specific example, because if you're listening to this episode, you're going to go, oh, that's me. I'm doing that. Yeah, so stop. Okay, here goes. Ready? You're looking in the eye of a target audience person, someone you really want to impact, and you can clearly see the impacts you can have on their life, their business, their relationship, their, whatever, okay, whoever your target audience. And you say to them something that sounds like, listen to everything you've told us about your situation, understand clearly, and here's what we see for you. Here's what I see for you. The words that follow that paint a picture, and those words and that picture, when they are baked with clarity, are a magnet. No clarity, they'll bounce off, and they're gone. They're like, he's a leadership guy. He's just a leadership guy. But when they might not even see that for themselves, but you do. And so baking those clarity moments into brand language is masterfully powerful. And that's one of many reasons it works so well, because everything aligns.
A quick thank you to our premium sponsor, Hubbard Flooring Studio. Whether you're upgrading your floors, refreshing a room, or adding custom blinds to complete the look, Vicki and her team are committed to quality workmanship and exceptional service. Learn more at hubbardflooringstudio.com or call 225-924-1582. Let's get back to building better leaders.
So, hearing your passion, it's just captivating for helping people create their own story. Now, I'm kind of curious, how did you get to where you are now? What's the backstory for how Rich got to where he is now?
Wow. I was creating businesses when I was 13, naming them, creating business cards, putting ads in papers, calling people on the phone. So I was creating brands as a kid. What kind of brands are you talking about? My dad said, you want a job? It's your 13. It's Pennsylvania. He says, paint my house. He says, then I can get you other gigs with other professors. I'm like, great. So I created a house painting company, Penn State Painters. Great. Okay. Right. And we, with themes and taglines and, and then somebody said, hey, you sing pretty well. You got a nice high falsetto voice. Could you sing in our soul band? I'm like, what's a soul band? They're like, let's just take these records and come to the rehearsal. Okay. So don't ever take me to karaoke. I know. Okay. We're not good. Okay. So I not only played in the band, I booked the band. Well, there are 52 fraternities at Penn State, and they all have parties. So I got 20 other bands. I booked all the bands, and I made a big business and a band book, Penn State booking agency. I mean, why not, right? It's like, I wasn't licensed. I didn't know you needed to be licensed, but it's okay. I was like 14, 15. I cut it off at 16. I graduated from high school. I went to college. I cut it off at 16. That's it. But I made a whole bunch of money, backpacked through Europe and everything. Didn't have to fly home because I ran out of money, because I didn't run out of money. Just saying. So it's like, mom was an English teacher. Words were always fun. We'd read the Reader's Digest after dinner. Read words.
So you couldn't get away from it, huh?
I loved English. And the 10th grade, my 10th grade teacher had all these vocabulary words. It's like, whoa, wow, it's like candy. Anyway, so always had an appreciation for words. I am insatiably curious. So I was raised by professors and musicians. I play violin. I played in the orchestra. I played in jug bands. I played in pit orchestras. I did theater. I played on the tennis team. It's like everything I seemed to do, I was fairly successful at. So I know that sounds bumptious. I don't mean it to be, but it's like I had this history of like whatever I put, and I think I forgot the things I failed at. So it's like maybe I'm just not telling the whole story. But anyway, there's a lot of like, wow, and I was running my own businesses in high school and people, and I literally at spring break of my senior year, I rented a fraternity who was willing to allow me, because they knew me. And there were some guys who were still there. And so they kind of like, made sure the fraternity was okay, to hold a party in their fraternity for my high school people. It's like people today, they're on Facebook, like, hey, remember the spring bash? I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. Anyway,
Maybe.
yeah, right. So it's like, yeah. And then I ended up playing in a band that created its own album and went on tour for several years and was kind of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young on the soft rock side and Eagles on the hard rock side. And, we were running for it. And then several of us decided we want to do that for a living after we were on the road for a while. I'm like, eh. And those other two became extremely successful at what they, one of them was like, the youngest partner in one of the big 8 accounting firms. And another guy ran a sound company that helped transform the sound industry from wire to fiber, and became very wealthy and very successful. And I became a branding consultant in an agency that had partners in 21 countries. And I'm a global branding consultant. And then at 50, I changed my prayer and said, Lord, I'm resigning this addictive career. I'm doing all-nighters. I think I'm killing myself. That's not why you made me. I'm resigning this addictive career to reshape my life. Show me what you want me to do. I'm ready. Now, that's probably mindless telling God, here we go, God. Yeah. Here's your marching order. Anyway, so yeah.
No, but
and
it takes that moment, it takes that moment, like you were saying, the clarity of the brand. It takes you getting to that moment where you're completely broken to be open and say, all right, God, I need you to help me have this clarity to go help others.
It was a wonderful moment. And it felt, at first, I've been married for 49 years and 54 Valentine's days. It'll be 50 in December. I did ask my wife. I didn't tell her, hey, I'm resigning my addictive career. It's like we talked about it. We had a lot of money put away. I'd been pretty successful, and so like, okay. But yeah, it felt great to renew and start learning in new ways. That's when I got into self-development and, got drunk on the self-development industry. And then, and learned how to say things like, what's in your mind is in your life. Yeah. Thoughts are things. Okay. Remember to ask for help.
Now that's an important one right there too. You ask for help. I think that's one that we struggle with a lot too as leaders. It's,
you know what?
I'm tough, I can do it all.
Until I was 55, I resigned when I was 50. Okay, I resigned, and it didn't take long until people were asking me to help them with their individual brands. So I got involved, and I realized what I was doing was to help them pull from their heart visions they clearly see, and just help them define in language the brand they must become to be successful sooner. And that would literally help take them onto a path that get them closer to their divine purpose. So it's like when I got that download, it's like, man, this is not even my work. This is God's work. And I'm sorry, you just made a comment and I jumped. What did you?
So I was talking about, because you'd said ask for help.
Yes, right. Exactly. Okay, yeah, yeah. And so until I was 55, I read this book called Your Life, Your Legacy by Roger Hamilton. He's a coach from Singapore or somewhere like that. And Mark Victor Hansen brought him into this country. And I read his book, and it had this test. And you take this test, and it tells you there are these 8 personality styles that are strong in certain areas. And you have one that is your main strength. And you have one on the left and one on the right on this big circle that you are sort of secondary strengths. But the point is, get other people that are really good at those other things and let them do those things. And I was like, what? Because I lived my life. If you want to have it done right, you better do it yourself.
Right.
And then I went to Enlightened Warrior Training Camp, and my partner, who had a polio limp, 6'4" man of color from South Central. I love him. What a beautiful man. And they asked him as he was about to walk the hot coals, can we put a hand out for you? And he goes, no. He fell on his face in the hot coals halfway. What a lesson. Man, when they yanked his butt out of there, they were screaming at him about asking for help. Don't you ever do that again in your life. It's like hard way to learn that one. It burns on the hands and yikes.
Today's episode is brought to you by TrueScaler. Search is changing. Customers aren't using Google anymore. They're asking AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity for recommendations. TrueScaler helps businesses show up in those AI-generated answers through generative engine optimization, so your company is easier to discover when it matters most. Learn more at TrueScaler.com because the future of search is already here. Now back to the conversation.
I think we think it makes us weak, though. I think that's where the misconception is that by reaching out and having somebody help you means that you aren't capable of doing it. And that's just not the case. Like if somebody needs the help with their branding, why not go to an expert?
I'm going to, here's an easy way to reframe that. If you're listening to this episode, life is a team sport. We were not meant or made to do this life alone.
Yes.
Right? Period. So that should just pop that little bubble of asking for help. You get to engage others with you. You don't have to. It's not a sign of failure. It's the way we're made. So enjoy it.
Yeah, I like that. And you said you're a musician, and so I'm football coach, and that really kind of clicked right there. Imagine an orchestra that was all one instrument or just one instrument.
You can't have harmony unless there's more than one person. How can you have harmony in your life? Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm just envisioning like, hey, there's a quarterback out here and he doesn't have any linemen in front of him, and the other team is just like, yeah, that's not good.
One big hole. Just go up the hole. Yeah.
No, that was a great analogy that you'd said with that it being a team sport. So I love because I think a lot of people are more familiar with a band or something like that, or like football, because who doesn't like music?
I will tell you, and I don't want this to be a non sequitur, so I'll try to blend it in. So I played in a Messiah orchestra, Handel's Messiah, the language from the book of Isaiah talking about the coming of Christ, and it's often played in anticipation of the Christmas season. And I played in this orchestra for 25 years. And to be surrounded by hundreds of voices and the other instruments in the chamber, the orchestra, and that's a lot of vibration. And feeling that vibration and being a part of it and hearing the language about what was coming, that's the right way to get ready for Christmas. I will tell you, very few people have that opportunity, and I had it 25 years. What a blessing. Your brand is just the same way. Your football team is just the same way. It's like when things are working together and there's harmony, two or more people, two or more ideas, words can work together in harmony and alignment and create things that would never be created if there weren't a pattern, if there weren't good guidance, if there weren't vision. And so, you start with vision, and clarity guides leadership to its highest impacts, Aaron. But clarity is often missing. Clarity of the vision of whom the business or the whatever is going to impact and how. Having that clearly described is often missing. On the external side, the clarity of how the entrepreneur says, here's what we see for you, and paints that picture. If that's not really clear, I'm trained in NLP, the unconscious mind can't accept a negative. When that picture and that language is crystal clear, that target audience, individual or couple or business, will feel it. And when you create that palpable clarity, it creates an advantage. I was listening to somebody on Los Angeles Leadership Week yesterday, and the term limbic resonance was used. It's a limbic part of your brain. It's several pieces of your brain. And it talked about limbic resonance is when two individuals are their brains sync up and they feel really comfortable with each other. They might not have ever even met. But limbic resonance is two brains connecting. So it's like, this is possible. Okay. And when the language of your brand is consistent across the board, not different every time, when there's unique language that transfers energy, when you speak in the language of the voice in the head of your target audience, because you know what they're saying to themselves. And when you speak in that language, they go, oh my God, it's in my head. Oh, he needs to notice what I'm going through. I'm saying it creates limbic resonance. Okay, now I have a term. Woo! I got science. Okay, sorry. I did read on it before I used it. But no, seriously. And a brand needs 4 things or it will fall flat. You have to have all 4. And you've heard a number of them. And so what prevents clarity in an individual when people say, I just need some clarity about what how do I do why do they need clarity? They're the one that does it. We need better ways to say what we do. You know, if you were trained in NLP, you might use sleight of mouth and say, well, how is not knowing how to say what you actually do affecting all the rest of parts of your life? You know, it's like you kind of like, but it's true. People say they say that because it's not working. People aren't getting it. People aren't saying, wow, they're saying, oh, that's nice. And they're bouncing off and they're falling flat. So, you know what gets in the way? What we think and what we read. Somebody just sent me this. This is an article, Trends in Book Publishing, because we help write and conceive and write books that are stakes in the ground to move brands forward. So many of our clients, like Frank Lehane, was lifted up on LA Leadership Week for his book is coming out, and Mo Rock, the head of LA Tribune, wrote the foreword of Frank's book. So what a blessing. Well, that's an outcome of the work at Rich Brand. So it says trends in book publishing. What creates lack of clarity? What gets in the way of clarity? How about the first sentence, right? Like, the year brought more blockbuster books about sex and magic. That's it. I don't have to read the rest. Mo Rock says the media you choose to listen to shapes your vision of the world. So choose wisely. What you listen to, what you think about, what you read, what is thrown at you. It's, oh, sex and magic. So I should check that out. Oh, there's money in sex and magic. Well, you know what? A lot of things get in the way. A lot of things get in the way of clarity. A lot of things get in the way of us focusing on why we're here. Many times we don't focus on it. Well, let's get real. Do we ask? When we read the word, when we pray, do we ask, what is your will for what you want to land on my heart? What is your will for this business, for this work, for my gifts? What am I not seeing? Help me see. I mean, we can ask, we'll probably get there faster. So maybe that's a missing piece, but self-identity, self-doubt, self-history. I'm trained in NLP and in timeline therapy. It's remarkable without putting somebody in a trance, you can have them ride their timeline back and to look down on a moment that literally they experience some really significant anger, sadness, fear, hurt, or guilt, and have their unconscious mind tell their conscious mind what they really need to learn from that. And the unconscious, and they're talking to themselves, and they go, "You're loved." And then they come back to the present. You go, "Where's that feeling now?" And they go, I don't feel it anymore." What? It's like the ability to heal from things that we allowed to hold us back is remarkable. God has put such power in these bodies and minds. And sometimes we don't do well just by ourselves. So, we need a leadership coach who can see things in us that we don't see. We need a branding coach who can hear our hearts and make sure that we're on the track that will not only sharpen our businesses and the effectiveness of what makes our living, but help us achieve our highest level impacts. I mean, I had a doctor. I was a judge of a speaking contest, and this guy was he'd written 23 books on stress. He'd written one book in 1994, and it's stress, the 14-day stress cure. And he'd literally 300 pages. He'd outlined how to identify the root causes and eliminate them. So when you eliminate the root causes, there is no stress. So there's no such thing as stress. And he'd tell you that. And for 40 years in his clinics, he had been removing stress from people's lives by helping them find the root causes and eliminating it. And he watched the stress management industry sell billions of dollars of vibrating doodads and things you inhale and things you listen to in the morning, and it lasts 24 hours. And he literally says in his presentation, "I'm going to write a book called Stress, the Bullshit Epidemic." And I was like, no, don't do that. I got it. Yeah. You know what came out of him? He's now the founder of the Institute for Life Mastery, teaching the language and steps of life mastery to children for generation. Why did he create that nonprofit? Why is that? He's in his 80s. That became clear that was his highest and ongoing impact. It will affect generations. It had nothing to do. Well, what it had to do with was he understands that emotions mastery is the beginning of life mastery. And in the discovery process, it ensued and ended up creating an umbrella brand. Praise God.
I want to take our relationship to the next level. Let's become social media friends. Follow me at Coach Clark Leadership, and let's keep the conversation going in between episodes. Now let's get back to the connection.
And as we're kind of getting towards the end of our time, Rich, one of the things that I like to always ask everybody, I believe all leaders are readers. Not all readers are leaders, though. But leaders are learners. They're constantly learning. They're constantly growing. They're constantly working to be better at what they are. So what would be one book that you would recommend all leaders read?
I'm going to grab it and bring it over here. I'm going to give you two, but for different reasons. So here you go. So
I would expect nothing less.
Okay. All leaders are readers for sure. And you have a story. And if you haven't written your book, or there's a book that's a stake in the ground that moves your brand forward, you want to read this book. It's called Guerrilla Marketing for Writers. And it's by David Hancock, by a bunch of people. J. Conrad Levinson owns the guerrilla marketing thing. But David Hancock literally is behind this book. And he is the publisher of Morgan James Publishing. He's the CEO of Morgan James Publishing. He's a marketer that became a publisher. Pay attention. Publishers aren't marketers. This boy is a marketer. I love David Hancock. So that's one, because it will help you facilitate your future. Here's another one that you wouldn't expect. How to Grow More Vegetables by John Jevon, Jevon. Why am I sharing this with you? Because if I take you right now to my garden where I grow things to eat, what you're going to hear is not like, hey, how about that kale? You're going to hear, here's the metaphor of the garden. Write this down. If you're listening to this episode, grab your pen, write this down. You take a piece of dirt covered with weeds. That's like a human being. You pull the weeds out by the roots if you can. Things that hold us back, negative thinking, bad memories, bad habits, whatever. You nourish the soil. Down in my garden, it's compost. And it is amazing how God turns garbage and brown leaves and sticks into black, luscious soil with worms. It's amazing. Okay. At the counter where I read, it's the big red book with the gold writing on the cover that I read every morning. Nourish the soil. Plant lots of seeds. In our businesses, if we limit ourselves, let's be biblical, we reap what we sow. So if we sow just one kind of seed, you know what you're going to get. What if we learn, and there's a page in this book called Companion Planting. It's a cool chart. It says, hey, put onions around your tomatoes. It'll sweeten them, and they love each other's. One has a salt, one has a wide root, one has a shallow root. It's like, oh man, hey, dill loves to hang out under the kale tree. Bee balm keeps the bugs off the, oh my God. Okay. Plant lots of seeds in your business. Water it every day. Sometimes we forget. I'm a seed planter. I had to, every visitor to the brand ranch, when I take them down to the garden, or somebody who becomes a client and I say, what kind of phone you have? And they go, iPhone. Great. We're going to do a FaceTime. I'm going to take you down the garden, and we do the metaphor of the garden, and I show them the kale, but that's not why we're down there. Water it every day because the seeds need water. Let God provide the sunshine. People, if God is not in your business, if God is not in your life, you're missing a piece of the metaphor of the garden. Okay. You will have an abundant business, an abundant garden, an abundant life. The end. Those are the books. What's your next question?
Well, I was going to ask, what are you currently reading?
Oh, God. Well,
or maybe
I don't know yet.
Reading.
I don't know. What am I reading? What am I training on? What am I learning?
Yes.
My new learning area happens to be the applications in creating identity of artificial intelligence. So there are a couple of specific applications. One is using artificial intelligence created avatars to make sure that my message, my actual voice, and my image is in way more places than I can physically be in. And I have not just a coach, but a world-class expert. And he's going to be here tomorrow at the Brand Ranch. He lives 2 hours away, bless his heart. And he's going to be here tomorrow to look at the plan for what happens in Rich Brands for the next 2 years. The other models out there are School, which is a community creation software, and The Great Discovery, which is a monetization platform that actually is passed along in a multi-level marketing format, but it's built on Six Sigma, which is this training that big companies use, and they train their executives. It's part of their culture for maintaining consistency and quality assurance, and not just factories, but all kinds of processes. And that same platform has used for individuals who have content to share their content all over the world, have it translated into 120 languages, sold in local currencies, something they could never absolutely do themselves. So that's one of the reasons that the president and the chairman of the great discovery and I met about 3 weeks ago, and we're about to, move forward on. So it's like we're planning the application of AI. And I'm also looking at what I need to know, get to use in the execution of the marketing of my business and the operations of my business, particularly automation using AI agents. I might be able to spell that right now. Okay. I haven't avoided it. I have waited. I am not an anti-AI person. I am realist, and I help clients who use AI to brainstorm and create, language and stuff. But it is not an end game. It is a dangerous game if you think it's an end game. You must personalize and customize any results from an artificial intelligence system so that it is your brand, consistent across the board, unique language that transfers energy. You don't give that away. You don't feed that into some engine, and you use it constantly and consistently. You don't like ask AI some questions and then just use whatever it says, because now you might be talking a different language. And that's not consistent across the board. No, 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 no. Okay. Does that help? So it's not that I'm anti-AI. It's like, look, and I have this marvelous client who just sent me a clip that says a client of hers used AI to automate her blog worldwide. And she said, oh, yeah, it's just automation. But after 3 months, the numbers of people who were paying attention had tripled, and a woman in the UK, which is on a different continent, had written her and said, your blog helped to reconnect me to God. And her point was, that's not automation. That is anointing. So I want you to reframe AI as a way to literally share God's presence in our life, God's word, God's purpose that he baked into us. It's just a tool. It's like a shovel. You can use a shovel to hit somebody over the head and kill them, or you can use a shovel to dig a hole. Like in the hands of the bad guys, AI is a mess. I have a client who deals with cybercrime, and cyber criminals are using AI systems, and they have been, and it's difficult for industry to keep up with what they're able to do. But, that's it's part of the reality of world today. It's like, if you're connected to the internet, you are vulnerable, and you better have the right system of protection in place. So it's like, but does that make AI bad? No. It's the people's choices, the people's, who are misusing it. But hey, there are people that steal old people's money every day, and there are people who steal candy from kids. It's like, it's not the AI that's bad. It's,
it's the people. I mean, they've always been bad. I mean, this pencil could be considered bad depending on whose hand it's in, that's
right.
It's not that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working at. That is a major, both the getting in the running. Thank goodness I have help, and that there are other, I'm not creating systems. I am just learning about them and then injecting my brand into them. But I have wonderful guidance, and I'm not doing it. They're doing it. And I'm learning about automation and artificial intelligence that I can use in my business.
So last question I have, and I asked this one that I asked everybody as well, is what's one thing I should have asked you that maybe I didn't ask you?
Rich, knowing all you know about how an individual and their brand's identity is created and works or doesn't work? What's one thing that you can share with us that will guide our lives very positively? How's that?
So what's that one thing that you can share that would guide our lives positively?
I'm taking off my glasses and I'm looking into the camera, into your left eye, and here it comes. Speak from your heart, not from your head.
And so, Rich, if anybody wants to reach out to you, how do they reach out to you?
If they want to take advantage of the fact that I live on Zoom and that my calendar is open to anyone who jumps onto it for half an hour, you go to richbrands.org and click the button that says talk to Rich for 30 minutes. If you're not ready to talk to me, because I'm going to ask you about you, and if you go, I don't know, you're not ready. Okay. But if you're ready, just talk to me. If you want to get readier and you want to hear the things that will shape the way you think and the way you act and your success moving forward, I do 2 free master classes every month. And the registration links to them are Brand First, FIRST, brandfirstorDie.com. That's the one about evolving your brand so that you're let in to make your highest level impacts. And the other is brandpowerhour.com. That's what are the 4 things any brand must have or it will fall flat. And sometimes we get up to 7 things that brands do regularly that hurt them, and you need to stop right now. And those are free. If you hear this and you don't do any of those 3, you're not ready. Or you're going to wait another year. Remember what we said? You were made for a reason. And if you wait another year, there are going to be people that were supposed to have been touched by you and your work, and they won't be. You might have missed them. You might have missed what God intended and wanted by giving you the gifts he did. So it's not a waiting thing.
Wow. Powerful, powerful, powerful. And guys, that's going to be in the description below. So all you have to do is click on it and you can connect with Rich.
If you want to remember this and so you can't go to sleep at night, or so you can go to sleep at night, how's that? Living and fulfilling your divine purpose is why you were created. Now is the time to evolve the brand you must become to live your purpose. This is Rich Kozak.
Rich, I appreciate you hopping on and sharing that, giving away that there were tons of nuggets in here that we'll definitely have to, we're going to stay connected, but we'll definitely have to have you on again.
How about when I have a publishing date? I'll do that because we'll be looking for pre-orders. Yeah, let's do that. All right.
Work.
God bless.
All right. Thanks, Rich. Man, what a conversation. I don't know about you, but one of the biggest things I took away from this episode is that clarity changes everything. The clearer you are about your purpose, your impact, and the language you use, the more aligned your life and your leadership become. Rich said something powerful during this conversation. Impact is the moments that change everything. And I think that's because too many people are just trying to chase attention when they should be focused on transformation. If this episode challenged you, encouraged you, or gave you a new perspective on branding, leadership, or purpose, make sure to share this with somebody who needs to hear it. And if you hadn't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the Clark Connection podcast so you never miss an episode. And then make sure you connect with Rich and check out everything he's building through Rich Brands. And remember, you don't need to be great to get started. but you have to get started to be great. So keep leading, keep learning, keep connecting, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Clark Connection Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Connection Podcast. If today's episode added value to you, do me a favor, follow the show and share it with someone who needs it. You can connect with me at my website, coachaclark.com, or on social media at Coach A. Clark. All the links are in the description. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and keep connecting.